to the Epic Score podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Shadid. My interview this week is with creative director, producer, editor, Karen Cirillo. During my 7 years at Telepictures as a promo mixer, Karen was a promo writer, producer for many of the shows I was assigned to. This was a busy time for all of us while we were racing to meet the demanding production schedules of the various shows we worked on. I'm eager to share her story with you because her journey went from being a receptionist at CBS to becoming a senior creative director of promo at NBC, where she worked for almost 20 years. And she had to push her boundaries and take some risks along the way to make that happen. This interview was done a little while ago, and since then, Karen's career has evolved one more step to becoming a freelance producer-editor. I'm always fascinated to see how everyone's careers are always evolving. You can see some of her work at her website at KarenCirillo.com. I'd like to thank Wildwood's Picture and Sound for hosting our interview. As always, they've been very supportive of the podcast. And I'll see you next week back here in the studio. My guest today is Karen Cirillo. Karen is a senior creative director for NBC Universal. And I have actually a fairly long history with Karen. We used to work together at my last staff job when I was an audio post mixer. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
so
you
glad you said yes to this.
Yes.
I know you don't love the spotlight, but we have a few spotlights.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Karen was my producer and at Telepictures, and that was a very rigorous job for all of us, especially for the time that it demanded from us. Let's start at the beginning for you. That was CBS.
Yep.
And your story was starting right at the bottom. What were you doing?
Well, I feel fortunate to have gotten the job at CBS in the first place because I was in the on-air promotion department, and I think I could have ended up anywhere. I was in college, and I saw an advertisement that was like, give us $60 and we'll give you this book so you can travel to LA and meet the stars. And I was so excited. I wanted to do this. So I asked my parents for $60 because it was a lot for a college student without a job. And so I get this book, and it's all like how to write a resume. It was so stupid. I mean, I was a writing major. I knew how to write a resume. So the back was full of a bunch of addresses. And I just thought, I'm going to write to these addresses, just write a letter, actually thinking I might get my money back because it was a money back guarantee, this book. So I just randomly wrote some letters to CBS, and they could have ended up in the finance department, it went to the on-air promotion department. And so I got a call back and flew out for an interview that my parents took me to. I wore a head-to-toe brown silk suit, which, if you know, as we know about being in the TV industry, you could go to work in your pajamas and nobody cares.
Head-to-toe brown silk suit.
Yes.
To LA.
Yes.
Okay.
To the CBS on-air promotion department. But I had a great interview and met some wonderful people and got fortunate enough to get the job. So I got hired as a receptionist.
Right at the base level.
Yes, making like $8.40 an hour or something like that.
Very glamorous.
Yes.
You and I are both from the East Coast. I grew up in a house with a government dad and a mom that worked full-time to raise us. She was a full-time mom. Yep. And I had no concept of how to get to Hollywood or anything like that. It was always an attraction to me. I just, Los Angeles and Hollywood. You're in the DC area, just like I was. What was drawing you to the idea of LA? What was drawing you?
I don't know. That's a good question. Is it our personalities? Is it television in general? I mean, I definitely grew up watching TV and loved everything about it. Is it the shine, the glitz, the glamour, which we obviously don't see much of? But yeah, I don't know.
The glamour is like for the red carpet, and
yeah.
I mean, in my career, I never got anywhere near a red carpet. Sound guys, nobody, sound guys. So you start at the base, CBS. Was there room for you to grow at CBS? Were there opportunities, or how did it go?
Yeah. I think, like your parents, my parents, very hardworking, very much instilled, say yes to everything. Work yourself from the ground up, just get every opportunity you can. So I started answering the telephone, and then I became a post-production supervisor, which was very fun. So doing listening to audio mixes, putting together the schedule for the day, the on-air promos that, had to go out that night.
As I recall, you hit a roadblock there. Mm-hmm. In these conversations I'm having with people, the question comes up about AI. AI is a big roadblock. It's going to take our jobs. But in the past, People could get in your way. Budgets, timelines, deadlines, cancellations, all kinds of things could stop you from doing what you were doing. What happened to CBS?
Yeah, so a lot of people were very helpful and gave me a lot of opportunities, but somebody did say they're never going to promote you here. There's just only so far that you'll be able to go. And of course, right out of college, starting a career, that's not what you want to hear. So I thought, I have to get out of here. So that made me go look for work elsewhere. And how did I end up at Telepictures? I think it was one of the creative directors at CBS started to work over there.
Was that Mike?
Mm-hmm. Mike Valerio.
Mike Valerio.
And he invited me to go over.
And it's, I want to dwell on that, whoever that, it doesn't even matter who it was at CBS, but what they told you actually really wasn't true, because there were other people that had come in at a similar time as you, right?
Right.
And what happened? They stayed, and what happened to them?
They stayed, they moved up.
Isn't that frustrating?
A little bit, but it makes me think my path was my path, and had I stayed, maybe things wouldn't have worked out. Maybe they would have been better, maybe not as good, but it is, what people say to us, and those little things can really affect the decisions that we make.
You're new in the industry. Somebody tells you something. I'm going to tell you, when I was a new sound engineer on the East Coast before I ever came to Los Angeles, a senior mixer, literally, this is not an exaggeration, literally got in my face and screamed, "You will never amount to anything. You are going nowhere."
I hope they're watching this now.
I doubt it. I didn't know what to do with that, but I didn't want to believe him. Sometimes people get in your way, and you have to self-advocate, and you have to believe in yourself. So you get introduced to Telepictures. That wasn't a super hard transition. They tell you you're not going to go anywhere at CBS, whether it's true or not. You basically self-advocate, in essence. Mm-hmm. You get to Telepictures. What position did you start out there?
I was a production assistant. The department was just starting out. There was a little trailer in the back where we used to hang out. I remember these fly catchers hanging from the ceiling, and we were there in the summer, and they were just full of flies. It was really horrible.
Oh, no.
But they set up some edit bays and those things. So the editors would be working in there, and I was working for a writer-producer at the time, and I was taking notes of the shows. So I would watch the episodes and just take pages of notes to help prepare her for writing the scripts.
Right. So Telepictures, that I showed up there in 1999. Fall of 1999. And the promo department was brand new. Mm-hmm. So you're saying the trailers is because I think they hadn't done the build out or something in that back part of the building. And for our listeners, Telepictures is the syndication arm of Warner Brothers. And all the glamour goes into films, and all the glamour goes into, the television shows. Warner Brothers did Friends, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And people go, oh, syndication. Well, it turns out syndication is enormously profitable, is what it turns out. And Telepictures had 18 television shows at one point on the air while we were there. And we were doing promos for a ton of the shows. And so the promo department was brand new. They had hired all of you first. I came in sort of a few months later, in essence. Right. And it was a busy, busy time. And it was fascinating. That building had 2 television stages. They did the TV show Extra out of it.
Yep.
There was an entire newsroom of people doing it for Extra, all the executive producers. And then they were constantly they were just shooting Extra on one stage, and then they were shooting, what were they shooting? They were shooting like pilots and game shows and stuff on the other stage. It was an incredible environment we sort of landed in. It was so vibrant. And it was all like young people just running around and just trying to figure themselves out in life. And then we had this promo department. And as time went on, okay, so you started as production assistant, but you didn't stay that way.
No, and I have to give mad props, if we can name names. Jackie Morgan McDougall was my writer-producer. Right. And she would always have me write scripts for her. And I remember one time she put her name on my script because she figured if the boss looked at it, not in the eyes of, oh, your PA wrote this, but you wrote it, he'll just look at it more,
So she wasn't stealing your
evenly.
work, but
No,
she was
she was
trying to
trying
see
to-
if she was trying to see if you could get passed through, if your work could make it
yes.
through. How'd that go?
And it worked. It was good. He liked it. She just gave me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have somebody so positive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be where I am, I think, without her.
And as time went on, you and Ryan, the video editor, the shows that you worked on, they seemed to filter to me. And so the three of us we were it was a unit that, new shows would come about. And gosh, new shows were so intense when they started.
Yes.
The ramp up for a new show with a celebrity host and whether it was a talk show or whatever it was. And you guys were so busy in the summer with all those crazy shoots and coming up with all those intro concepts and
Yep, the launches. I remember the Sharon Osbourne show, the Man on the Street stuff.
Yeah.
I still tell the story about I got to use Ozzy Osbourne's bathroom. I literally peed in Ozzy Osbourne's toilet.
There you go.
But that was cool. We did a shoot in their house and just little opportunities like that, meet people, do fun things. That was really cool.
So you're just working your way up, and it takes time. And the schedule in that place was intense. The shows were trying to put out the best shows they could. They were sometimes there were things that they felt were timely and they wanted to sub things out. And so everything was running late and the hours were intense. And for a writer-producer like you're coming in at 10 a.m. Everything was day of. And I'd never seen anything like that versus a network that is 2, sometimes 3 weeks out. Mm-hmm. They choose a show. You're in at 10 a.m. watching that show. You tell us the process.
Yeah, well, put your VHS in.
Why am I talking?
You're very good at it. Watch the show, take notes, which having practiced doing that with Jackie for so long, I took my own notes pretty thoroughly, and then come up with a script. How are you going to sell it? How are you going to pitch it in 30 seconds? 26 seconds, and then get the script approved, and even sometimes put in time codes for the editor so that he can move quickly through it, because we had to get this shown for approval early enough in the day. So by the time you go through the show, write your script, get it approved, hand it off to the editor, and then it was always, this is a 30-second promo, and you gave me 48 seconds of a script. So then we have to smush it to time, which Ryan was so great at.
And there was a graphics department?
Yeah. Everybody got involved with that too. So,
and this again is happening in one day. Mm-hmm. And then after the script is approved and the cuts are getting approved, it has to be that's the local approval. There was many high ups that needed to see it that day.
Right. Yeah.
So we had to wait and sort through all of those things. So the hours were intense. Because we haven't even gotten to the audio department. Not that it's all about audio, but
have you even rolled in by now?
I don't know.
It's 3 in the afternoon and Gabe's not in.
Is Gabe here? And so this process continued into the night. What would you say was the normal time that we were leaving at night?
No exaggeration. Average, I would say, was between 2 and 3 a.m. in the beginning.
That's right.
Very easily.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember, you're going all day. You've been there since 10. It's there till 3 in the morning. And I remember in some of the early days, I would wake you up, it's time it's time for audio approval.
You had a couch like this one. Sometimes I would just lay down and you'd wake me up on the couch and I'd get up and I'd be like, the mix sounds great. Then I'd take the tape, go to the machine room, feed it out.
They're putting it up a satellite.
Right.
This is day of production. It was so run and gun.
Yes.
But we were all doing what we could to give the shows what they needed.
Yeah, and it was fun. In the moment, it was hard and challenging, and it was a great place to learn. And I think looking back, we kind of call it like a university in a sense, where it was a training ground. It was learning. I think we had fun because we were working together. We had a great group.
We had a great
group.
group.
Obviously,
we were going through those trenches together, and it was falling on you to run that ship for our promo team. The writer producers got to come up with that concept, and you were sitting next to Ryan, and smoothing through all this edit. Like you said, the timings aren't working out, and then you've got to be running the ship in the audio department. I'm finishing up. All right. Those were busy times. It was odd for me. It was busy and it was slow because there was a lot of waiting for the
Yeah.
audio people. Audio is always the
But
last
that's
thing.
what's not fair for you too. And then you finally get it, and everybody's like, "Hurry up! Is it done? When is it going to finish?"
Everybody,
You're like, "I
literally,
just got this."
it's true. There's a OMF, for all our listeners who don't know the process, a video editing program puts out the audio files, and it's just called an OMF.
Which stands for?
Open Media Framework or something.
I'm testing you on camera.
Oh gosh, I'm getting tested. This is tough. And the OMF would have all the audio laid out, and literally there's 5 spots. There's a 30 version, a 20, a 15, a 10, and a 4. And there's crowd cheering and there's dialogue editing and
Voiceover scheduling.
We had the voiceover recorded.
Yeah.
Those were usually being recorded. Brian Lee,
Yeah.
our buddy in Florida, who's also, what is he? He's CNBC, I think.
I think I still hear him.
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
I
he's
talk to him
amazing.
every once in a while.
I
You
love
know what? I
that.
want to interview him.
Yes.
He's a great guy.
We should end this with a phone call to Brian Lee.
Maybe.
And just go,
Hey, Brian. Great guy. I think he's on the list. I don't know.
good.
Love Brian. So we had recorded voiceover. The voiceover was just timed to the gaps as best as we could. But until the final thing, you never know if there was going to be another tweak. So the audio, I'm not going to say it was a feature film, but there's a lot of things that had to get done correctly. Mm-hmm. And so you're right. People hand me stuff at 2 a.m. and it's like, we want to go home. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying. And I was getting it down, that 5-spot package, down to like 40 minutes or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was fast.
But we were getting it done and we never made mistakes. Look at this is the trenches. Look at us joking around, we're talking. Yeah. But hey, there were tough times with it and some of it's frustrating, but.
And I think you and I, 7 years.
99 to 06.
Yeah.
So you knew me. Epic Score shipped its first music in 2006. Mm-hmm. In 05, I was working on the beginnings of it and starting to write music and setting up the business and setting up the distributors.
Yeah.
And the dream was real that I didn't have to work as a staff post mixer anymore, and that there was looking like the ever increasing possibility that music was going to be my future. And you saw all of that from you're one of the few people, because again, we were working every day together. So it's like, I have this idea, and I think this is happening, and and I'm pushing forward, and you were there for all of that. So you have your interesting takes. If you have anything you want to share, I'd be happy to hear it.
I just remember there was a picture of Sophie and Elena on your wall, and right under that was this map, a hand-drawn kind of crappy map. But you were talking about all the countries and continents that you were targeting, and it was cool, and it seemed like such a faraway dream at that time. And little by little, you were checking this off and checking that off. And I remember you'd have new tracks. And you'd be like, we got to hear this in my car because the speakers are so good. So we'd go for drives and be driving really fast, and these speakers are blaring in your BMW, and that was how you would show me your new music. So
well,
it was fun.
Look at the Epic Score has that race car, right? It's just an evolution of these crazy things. Yeah, I mean, I love hearing the perspective, the outside perspective of people who looked at me, and just because. I'm in the middle of it thinking, God, I don't even know if this is going to work. What am I doing? But I was putting all those pieces in place while I still had a full-time job. And I had other things going on, which I'll talk about in a podcast where I am talking about, some of Epic Score's history. As I started seeing that it was possible for me to leave and just that intensity that we had every single day, I kept saying to you, hey, you got to figure out your next step. And you were so loyal, and you worked, they gave you the hardest shows, they gave you the hardest jobs, and you never complained. But in Los Angeles at the time, the next step required something that you didn't know how to do yet. You were a writer, you were a producer. What was the thing you were missing?
Editing.
Video editing.
It was editing, yeah.
And so I was encouraging you, and for a while you didn't respond, you weren't interested. And one day, I remember it was February of 2006, you said, so what would it take to learn video editing? And I went,
Why did I go to the audio guy to ask about video editing? Obviously, I thought highly of your opinion.
No, it was just that I had been badgering you for
Yes,
some time.
yes.
You need to learn how to video edit so you can take the next step.
Yeah.
Whether the next step was where you were working or trying to seek employment somewhere else, that wasn't any of my business. The term in the industry was predator, right?
Yes.
And the producer editor was becoming very valuable in Hollywood.
2 jobs in one.
2 jobs in one.
And we were talking about the light switch earlier, and I remember I said this to you the other day. You wanted it to put in my head, you need to learn to edit, you need to learn to edit. And so you said every time that you go to turn off your light switch, think, I need to learn to edit. And you put that in my head. It was so annoying every time I went to the light. I got to practice editing. So you got in here?
You expressed interest, and as soon as you did, we helped you get a computer set up,
Yep.
and you started editing, and I think you started asking Ryan questions, and you had
Brett came over.
Brett
Yeah.
Galdi,
Yeah.
awesome guy.
Yeah.
Became really prominent at CBS.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there was a moment. I had decided it was time for me to leave, and your video editor, Ryan, he was going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Decided to leave too.
Yes. And so this is a fun story. This is one of the main reasons I wanted you to come here. And I wanted to talk about this story because this is the classic story of getting out of your comfort zone, sticking your neck out. And I'm on vacation. I think I had just quit. I was on vacation with the family, out of town. Phone rings. You're calling me up and you go, NBC just called. They wanted me to come for an interview. And you told them,
I'm not available today. I was in a sundress and flip-flops, and I was not going to march in there for an interview in my sundress and flip-flops. So I think I told you, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And you told me.
So you told them you fabricated a deadline that I can't come. I have a deadline. And then you called me. This story always cracks me up. You called me and you're like, NBC called, but I didn't feel like I was ready or dressed appropriately or whatever. And I was like, are you crazy? I was like, tell them your deadline changed. Just go. And you're like, really? Really? And well, what did you do?
I went and I remember sitting on the couch of the senior vice president's office at the time, maybe was his title. And I was nervous. I remember he offered me a can of Diet Coke and I said, oh, no, thank you. And he was like, oh, you always want to say yes because you want to show that I'm in business with you. Say yes to everything. So I'm like, first lesson. Okay, yes,
agreeable.
I'll take the
Be
Diet
agreeable.
Coke. Thank you so much. And we talked about what we did. We talked about our reel. And he asked me if I could edit. And I said yes. And he said, we'll give you a job as an editor. He's a great person, and that's very much what he does. It's the sink or swim. I'm going to give you this job. I don't really know if you can do it or how well you can do it. If you can, awesome. And if you can't, we'll find out, and off you go.
That seems to be a theme in Hollywood that has been for a long time. That's actually how I got my start in Los Angeles as a mixer. I had a really good friend, Rich Gray, great mixer. He's had a super long career as a mixer, mixing all kinds of shows. And he put the good word in for me at a studio up in the Burbank area when I wanted to move to LA. I interviewed with the studio owner, and he said, yeah, Rich says you're a good guy, so I'm going to give you a shot. I said, okay.
Nice.
He didn't look at a reel.
Wow. He
didn't look at a resume. And that's how LA is. There are people that will give you a shot, but you got one shot. Right. If you mess it up, you will not step foot in that building again. That is classic Los Angeles.
You're right.
And it's a little bit of that fake it till you make it, or, just word of mouth and give it a shot. And so it's weird that Hollywood is friendly to sort of let you in, but you got to deliver. Otherwise,
right.
It ain't going to work out.
Well, and very much to that, who I interviewed with, he was talking to our old vice president at Telepictures because they were friends. Howard had told him, I'm losing one of my best producers. And he said, I think that was you. And I was like, yeah, I think that was me. So that was helpful. So thank you, Howard, for him.
So you've taken a job as an editor, but you're quite a novice editor.
I wasn't even an editor. I mean, seriously. And I say this a lot. I remember very well, I left the office and I was in the parking lot. And normally you would call everybody and say, oh my God, I just got a job at NBC. And I didn't. I did not call my family. I probably called you. But
You let me know what happened, but I don't know this part.
I just felt sick because I just took a job I could not do. And I was like, oh my. So it was not excitement. It was just full on nerves.
I remember I went over to NBC a few times and I was working you through some of the basics of music editing, right?
Right. So they set me up. They put me in this old online bay. So it was a very large room.
Didn't they turn it into a tape vault?
Yeah. Later, I was in a tape vault. Yes.
Later you were in a tape vault?
And there was an earthquake, and everybody came running in, and they were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" To see if tapes fell all over me. But, yes, you taught me how to find music. I think we took like a fake piece and, okay, you want drama here, you want comedy here, and how do you even look up music?
Hopefully it was all epic score music.
It was, of course.
All the comedy was epic score, right, for sure.
It's such a good comic kind of music. Yeah, we did. And then you taught me just little bits about how to edit music. Sure. So I was very grateful for that. And Rick Gianelli came over, and I remember from him I learned little 2-frame dissolves in between things just to smooth things out. But, everybody... That's why I always say whatever I can do for people, because so many people did it for me. So whatever I can do for people starting out to help them.
It's a team.
Yeah.
It's a team. All right, you're in NBC.
Woohoo.
You took a risk. You took this job and you had to learn very quickly. And I remember you were super proud. Some of those first things that you were doing were approved and getting aired, or however. What was it, television or was it electronic? What was the first?
They were 2-minute replays. They didn't exist before I got there, but it was a way to catch viewers up.
Oh,
so they aired.
Catch viewers up.
But I will say really quickly too, there were 2 of us doing that job, and there was somebody in that room in the day, and I was in that room at night. And I was so grateful to be at night, because that's when you would come over, and I'd sit there for hours trying to figure this out. And I took like way beyond a normal day of work. But I had all night, and I could just stay as long as I needed to. And there were times that I just left on the verge of tears, because I was like, what am I doing? I can't do this. So just going back to practicing, people helping you, being passionate about something. And again, just grateful to have been given a chance.
How long would you say it took you before you were like, hey, I got this video thing?
That's a good question. I still don't know if I have the video editing thing, right? There's always something to learn.
It's only been 19 years.
Right? Probably a good couple months, though, before I really was putting stuff together. And maybe I wasn't editing music well, but well enough to get by and show it.
So you are a senior creative director now at NBC Universal. You started as I'm assuming it was just video editor. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that was the title, or Predator, or whatever that was. Walk us through the steps. How did you work from Predator, video editor, to senior creative director?
Okay, let's see. So I did the 2-minute replays, and then I had an opportunity to work in the on-air promotion department, which is so cool.
That is cool.
So I was in this very cool edit bay in the basement at NBC, and I started on Age of Love. It was one of the first shows. It was a reality show.
Okay.
And I did some Friday Night Lights, and I remember when one of my first spots was going to air, I ran home really quickly because I wanted to see it. Because I wanted to see it like live on TV. It's amazing, this thing that you've been working on, this thing. So that was what I would call my family. My spot's going to air tonight. It was a big deal. Just tell everybody, watch it. It was very exciting. And I was freelancing then at NBC, so they do that for a year before your time ends up.
Oh, so they start everybody freelance there?
Not everybody, but I was.
But you were, okay. And then you said a year you became staff?
No, then a year went by, and Larry Hart in another department, he said, come work for my department. And so I started so his department was electronic publicity at the time. So it was sort of like, I came from the promo department where everything was big graphics and big VO and big selling in your face. And this was kind of the opposite in the way of it was a little bit more newsish. We had, the announcer was very newsy, so it took me a second to kind of change courses. It was the same but very different.
You had to lower the hype level?
A little bit. Graphics flying in your face. And he's like, oh, no.
Attack!
None of that. But that department went on set to interview talent, which I had never done before. And the concept actually terrified me. So I was an editor for a while, and people would bring me their tapes, and all I had to do was import what they did and cut with it, which was great. I was never the one on set. But I listened so much to what they did. I listened to their interviews, the way they asked questions. It was interesting. And one of my very first interviews was for The Voice. I went to go watch two other guys do an interview. And I was just there to watch and observe and, oh, this is so cool and fun and new and different. And they said to me, you're going to sit and do the next interview.
Whoops.
Right? And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. But, they outranked me, and I was just like the new girl in the department. And I think, to their credit, they were trying to expose me to new things.
Right.
And I just was dead set, I am not doing this. And we were at a studio, they took me to the back kitchen, and we all had a beer together. So they gave me this beer, and they're like, you're doing this interview. And I don't know if I should say who it was, but it was Adam Levine.
Oh,
so
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and good.
How'd it go?
Good person. It was great. I mean, I would really like to watch that now. Was it as good as I think it was? I don't know. But Adam was really kind and must have known how inexperienced I was. But it was just a conversation, just talk about the show, ask him questions, and it went well. But I'll always remember that, again, people helping you out, people throwing you out of your comfort zone.
Giving you an opportunity in that case.
Exactly. And who knows what I was wearing that day? Probably sundress and flip-flops again, because I was not ready for this interview.
This is I'm surprised you didn't show up today in a sundress and flip-flops.
I was so tempted. It's middle of October. So
I told you I'd show up in shorts.
You did. You kept your end.
Every day I mixed at
Yes.
Telepictures, I showed
Shorts.
up in shorts.
Yeah.
I never wore long pants.
Or a silk suit.
I never had a silk suit, and definitely not brown. Brown silk, I'm not sure that's really working.
It was a good look. I still have it.
Oh, no.
Well, it was a monumental, you keep these things, right? And I remember shopping.
No, you do not keep brown head to toe. I don't know what that was.
You haven't seen it, and the shoes were really good. I bought it with my parents, because when I was coming for the interview, I'm so supportive and amazing. They were like, took me shopping, just got me ready, flew out here with me, got me the place, I probably didn't mention them enough about how this getting, the apartment, and I definitely wouldn't be here without them on any of this.
Parent support is awesome.
Yeah, they're the best. But yeah, that's how that department started.
How do we keep going?
Yeah, so then...
So you're doing shoots, you're doing interviews.
Yeah.
Are you still considered a video editor or producer at that point, or has the title changed at all?
The title, I think we were producer editors, predators
Okay.
still, yeah. So let's see, years went by doing that, and different set visits, different set tours, and then we left the Burbank studios and moved to the Universal lot, which was so cool. It's like being on a college campus.
Is this what we call Lancashire? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And so it's such a huge lot, and you have stages everywhere. Mm-hmm. You have the Voice stage, and America's Got Talent films here sometimes, just all these, Will and Grace filmed there, and so you would get in a golf cart and just then drive to set and interview people. It just felt like it was a different level, it was just a level of excitement.
That's, a thriving production environment. I always was excited. I mean, just Telepictures and the extra and the bustling newsroom, and that's just one little newsroom. I can't imagine set after set after set of a whole lot of exactly.
And we're all exploring it together and just driving around and figuring it out, and that was so cool. So I got to work with, again, the set of Will and Grace when they came back for their reunion, more Voice, America's Got Talent, traveling became a thing.
Didn't you were going to New York for stuff, right?
Go to New York for Law and Order. Got to work with Dwayne Johnson in Atlanta. So that was cool. A company corporate card is kind of fun.
Oh, that's not terrible.
So that was fun. So little by little, it just sort of grew.
What was your first promoted title? You went from producer, editor to what would be the first promoted title?
I think it went from producer to senior producer.
Senior producer.
The more shoots we went on, and the more I got to do. And I was editing the whole time, because that is kind of the backbone of everything, is cutting your own stuff, it seems. And then it was creative director. And I remember when my boss was like, do you want to be a creative director? In the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. What do I do? What is this thing? Right. So that was very cool.
Yep.
And even as creative directors, it was still always about editing, which was fun. And then senior creative director is the most recent. And I think that just comes with experience and loving what you do, and
that's great.
Putting the time in.
The networks are under pressure. The industry's under pressure. How do you see the future
That's a good question. I think that artificial intelligence has a lot to do with it, whether we want it to or not. It's the evolution, and I think we need to get on board.
Can it help you write a script?
Yes, it can do anything, seriously. In
Have
a
you
scary
tried?
way. Yeah.
Did it work?
I actually wrote a card to somebody the other day using it.
You wrote a card?
I did.
I don't know what that means.
Watch your thank you for this. It might look a little, at least I'll start it
No,
out.
I'm supposed to say a thank you to you.
Dear AI,
You're not
what
thanking
should I
me.
say? We'll see. We'll see how this goes and see who's thanking who.
So you have it in reverse.
I've got it all backwards. Well, I'm used to being you. I'm used to sitting there in the interviews, so this is very different.
That's right.
But yeah, I did. There's a lot of spec work that we do. Oh, I didn't get to mention too, though, directing. So a lot of directing where you go on set and people like James Spader with a Blacklist was one of my favorite interviews I've done. And just sitting and have a conversation with him. He's so smart and he just knows everything about the show in and out. And that was so great. But, so we set up shots, an A camera, a B camera, angles, a slider, lighting, working with a great team, of course. But then
Not like this thing.
This is pretty good. You did all right. But then there's the other kind of directing that's more like taking a 30-second script. So when we talk to talent, it's talking to them as themselves about the show. But this was directing like for the cast of Grand Crew. There were 6 main actors.
Okay.
And so we had a couple 30-second scripts that some of the great writers at work wrote. And I was the director, so I got to go on set and set up the shots and direct them through these scripts. So it's not like just talk to me. It's about we have to get through these scripts, timing, inflection, how do you say it? That was a whole new ball game and a whole new world. And, in that sense, another Ryan Sage, who at home I call the real director, he's really amazing. And he helped me with that and, helped me prep and shoot that day and cut everything afterwards, which I always joke that when you do your own cutting from what you direct, you can hide the mistakes. Nobody really has to know because you can kind of fake it in the edit bay. But I thought about why AI led me to that because he always makes storyboards. And I think, a lot of people do before either commercials or on-air promos.
Right.
And it was always a company that you go to make these storyboards. And they do all the drawing and they take your notes and you go back to them. And now he does everything on AI.
Wow.
So that's just a pretty much free example. I just did something the other day. It was just there was no talent in it. It was something that was just background shots. And I tried it in AI. And it was fun. It took me a while to figure out the prompts. And it wasn't as smooth as I would have wanted it to be. But it was my first attempt. And, the shoot would have cost, depending on, 30, 40, 50,000. Sure. And here I was doing it for free in AI. Wow. We didn't end up using it. But it was a first step. It was an experiment.
And you have to start somewhere with that. And
right.
Figure out the process. And maybe next time it's smoother and slightly, you know what to avoid to save yourself the time and whatever. So,
right.
Yeah, I've been having some conversations, doing these interviews and it's interesting. Some people are all in and it makes their life more efficient and it saves, time and it saves money and then invariably like music related people are kind of like this and I'm a music guy, so I'm sitting here, a tad afraid, to be able to type something into a computer and something pops out 10 seconds later is...
Have you tried to...
I haven't tried with epic music, but just little beds and stuff and, little poppy things, a little groove, a little synth or whatever. Yeah, that stuff pops out real fast. And
what about can they make a choir for you or...
I don't know. I already have all that.
You don't need that.
I don't need it.
Fair enough.
All right. Technology.
Yes.
You've been at NBC Universal almost 20 years.
Yeah.
They have access to fantastic stuff. How has the technology moved in these 20 years for you?
Well, recently we were talking about AI. We've been working with Adobe. We got Adobe licenses, which is very cool. And the great thing is when you work with a company, they give you lessons.
So you were originally on what?
Well, for editing purposes, originally on Avid, and then Premiere came along. And so we had to start learning Premiere, which I went kicking and screaming into because I knew Avid, I was comfortable with it, and I just wasn't ready to learn something new. And so I would dip my toe into it and go back to Avid and dip my toe a little bit more. If I had really stuck with it when I started, I'd probably be further along than I am now. But editing in Premiere has been, you can just see the evolution between Avid and Premiere is just huge. But it's just learning something new. I mean, editing is editing. It's all about timing. It's about flow. It's not really about what buttons you press. So once you just figure out how to press different buttons, it's the same thing in the end. The Adobe is more for like Photoshop stuff, which I really didn't know before, or the AI stuff that we were talking about, all of that stuff that they kind of put at your fingertips. CapCut, which is like you can edit on your phones or edit on computers. And it does help to work with a young generation too, who knows all this. And it's funny now, I've been editing for 20 years. I know the stuff on Avid, and I have some of the younger producers coming in, teaching me how to edit on CapCut and showing me all the new stuff, which is fun. So
Always learning.
Yes.
Always learning. So I want to thank you for sitting with me today.
Thank you.
Sharing your story. I was so happy for you when you took that step and you took that risk and you went to NBC and then look what it turned into.
Yeah.
This.
I couldn't have done it without you either. I will definitely add. And I remember
I was just pushing you through the door. That's all I was doing. You had to do it yourself.
Remember, I was at Telepictures, and there was that week where I was doing another job to kind of try to get a job. And so you were the one who first, you were like, look at what you just did. I hit a monumental mark in salary. And you were like, that was the first time ever that you've made X amount of money. You were just always there and being my cheerleader and knew like everything that I was doing and all those little details going on. So big time thank you to you.
Well, we were a team, all of us. And you tried to look out for everyone. I mean, everybody was trying, you're sort of in that trench. And that's a concept, and I don't think it's just Hollywood, but Hollywood is what I know. And when you look in from the outside, you go, why did that person get that job? How did that person get that gig? And it's said very enviously. When you're on the inside, it looks very different. Everybody's running around and everybody's fighting for deadlines and everybody sort of has to have each other's backs, and they sort of come up together and they become friends. Mm-hmm. And of course they're going to work together. I've had conversations with people where they say, well, I like to work with my friends. That's not a mysterious concept. Right. And we were all running and gunning, trying to do a good job, trying to make the shows happy. And along the way, we became friends, and that's great. I mean, both of us quit within a month or month and a half of each other, almost 20 years ago, and here we're chatting again. Yes. I love that, and I hope I can keep going with these conversations, and have, these and hear these cool stories, because I hope they're worth telling, and
yes.
I wanted to tell your story because I thought it was cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. You're the best.